Guidelines for young entrepreneurs. Young entrepreneurs in their teens should be aware that they have an advantage over those in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. Although I doubt most people are aware of it, you should be. I knew I had an advantage when I was 20 years old because I knew I had endurance, which gave me an advantage over some 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, and 50-year-olds who might not have had that kind of endurance to compete. In addition to having endurance for yourself, you also have the advantage that the older you get, the more likely you are to be director, vice president, or something similar. Because they find it difficult to say, "I don't know," people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s tend to say things like, "Oh, I've heard of them before," but if you're a teen or young entrepreneur, you have the power to say, "I don't know, teach me," which makes everyone who wants to share their secrets with you want to teach you instead. The idea of saying, "I don't know, teach me," causes someone to let down their guard because you are no longer a threat. And as a result, they are more willing to teach you the deeper aspects of succeeding in business or whatever else you may need. As opposed to 30 and 40-year-olds who are afraid to admit they don't know something because they have a degree, or have read 50 books, or they read the appropriate articles or whatever it is they have. They can't say, "I don't know." You as a teenage and young entrepreneur, you have the stamina going for yourself. I don't know the opposition's willing to have their guards down, that they're willing to share the really deep insight with me on what it takes to win in any kind of an industry. When you have a baby, you find out that you could have survived for years on end on 4 to 6 hours of sleep. But you didn't know you could because you partied nonstop and slept for 8 to 10 hours, wasting your 20s and your teens by partying irresponsibly. According to a guy who has done plenty of partying, it is overrated. It's overrated because I discovered this information at the age of 24. I had a 5-year advantage over many of my contemporaries who began their mid-30s parties. Nevertheless, I stopped at the age of 23. You are watching this. You may be 15 years old, 16 years old, 17 years old, 18 years old, 19 years old, or 22 years old. I'm not telling you to lead a boring life. I'm not telling you to be square and boring. All I'm saying is to be very aware that you have so much energy that you don't even know you have. You must be at least 50 years old and at least 60 years old to fully appreciate the value of your energy. Any 60-year-old would do anything to exchange their energy with yours of what you had at 181920 or so. So, if you use the power of, you use the power of bringing people's guards down where they're willing to share with you what worked for them. And you have the power to sit out there and work where you don't have to worry about. Then you have the power to use the power of bringing people's guards down where the right person watching this, if a parent shares this video with someone else that age and they're sitting there saying, "Oh my gosh, I never thought about it this way before." If you do it the right way, your future looks bright, and by the time you're 25 years old, 30 years old, if you find the proper person to work with and shadow in your early 20s and you start getting caught up in this whole thing about passion, you'll have enough money by the time you're 35 to purchase a nightclub or restaurant and rename it after yourself because you did it the correct way. You make the most of the mistakes made by being a young entrepreneur and a teenager.